So after making my fall Lego wreath, I figure it's time to go in and make something for Halloween, being that it's October and I wanted to make something that also contributes to this project because I think it's super cool and there's lots of neat remixes, but I don't see a lot for Halloween under this version. So the first thing I went out and did was I went to Flat Icon, which has tons of cool icons, and I grabbed this bat one. This is a personal use. It's from FreePick, so just giving them credit for what they did there, and I'll put a link in the description. But all I did was download this image, and then I went into Onshape, and we're going to go in, and first we're going to import that image into Onshape. So we got our bat silhouette. We'll open that up, and it will import in. Yay us. And then what we're going to do is go into Sketch, and we're going to go into Top, and we're going to get our top sketch in here. Then from there, on this top area, we can go to this drop down. It's usually insert DFX or DWG, but we can go to insert image. And since we've already uploaded our image, you can do it here too. I have my bat silhouette. Now, all you have to do is click, hold, and drag, and you can figure out how exactly big or small you want this thing. You can still move it around. You're not locked in by any means with this, which makes things a whole lot easier. Now, before we go in and actually start tracing this thing out, because that's what we're eventually going to do, we're going to trace it and make it our own, but I need to see the size of the hole that this thing is eventually going to encompass. And I'm measuring here with my dial calipers, and it's giving me 0.71 inches, so just under 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to do this with a couple of them. Looks like 0.7 is going to be the number that we're going to go with here. And as far as wall thickness goes, it's another 1/10 of an inch. So that means we need 0.7 plus 0.1 plus 0.1. So we need basically just 9/10 of an inch as diameter for this circle. So I'm going to give that 0.9, and that's going to be kind of our basis for how big this bat needs to be. Now we can go in, we can reposition it, we can also transform it to make it bigger or smaller, but I'm going to go ahead and delete that for now just to give us this guy for a setup here. It's maybe not the best way to do it, but it's the way that I'm going to do it right now. And I'm going to resize this bad boy. And the idea here is I want this to be able to fit over so that we have the hole here, and then I have this bat shape, and it's not interfering. I can go through and do it. And I think that looks pretty decent. So now I'm just going to go in here, and I'm just going to start tracing some of this out. I'm going to not make these quite as sharp as what this particular one has. So I might do, I might go in and do a spline here. That might be a choice that we have here. So I can do something like there to there, and then around that over. And it doesn't have to be a frightening bat. It can just be kind of something fun, a little easy to do here. And we'll see if we can try to get those on the same lines as each other. And what's fun about this is you can always go back, and when you click on these, you can change the nodes. So I can edit where that node's at. I can get it to be sharper or pointier or kind of follow closer to the line well after the fact. I don't have to be perfect right out of the gate here, which is super, super useful for what I want to do here. And again, I'm not trying to make a real pointy bat. Maybe these will be a little more pointy, but I don't want anything crazy done there. All right, so we're going to do that guy. And sure, that's fine. I'm not super concerned about making this like the most beautiful piece of art ever. We're just trying to go through and trace out some of this stuff and get it roughly to the point that I want it to be. So I'm just going to kind of go through and play with all this and see if I can do it. And I'm not trying to make this symmetrical by any way, shape, or form. I'm just trying to make it a little freeform, a little kind of, I don't know, just something that I can do that with. So this is not a technical, beautiful drawing by any means. We're just going in and trying to trace out this, not even to the best of our ability, but just trying to make it look semi-decent for what we may do there. Now, these ones here I did have as lines, so I'm going to finish those as lines just because I want to have it be semi-symmetrical. And then we'll go through a spline and see if we can try to get these guys to line up. And I think I'm going to do that, and then I can go back into my spline tool and go back in there. And to deselect spline, all you have to do is hit escape, and it will make it a node that doesn't curve around anymore. So that looks good. I'm going to actually redo this entire spline on this side because I do not like how that came out. I like this side far better. I think it did a much better job tracing it. Again, not a beautiful tracing job, but just trying to roughly get it into place. So we'll go down to that point there, and then we'll continue our spline from there, heading out and over. So we got something like that. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now I need to get rid of that circle there. And then I should be able to go in and finish that sketch and extrude this whole closed loop. And then I need to grab my dial caliper, excuse me, you can hear it dropping there. And the one that I have the model for, and I'm just looking at the leaves, is 0.15, 0.15. Okay, so that's easy. We're just going to extrude that entire thing, 0.15 inches. All right. And then I'm going to go in, before I do anything else here, you can see there's some hard edges. So I'm just going to round some of these off with a fillet. So like that guy, it's not going to get rounded up that much, but let's say a 32nd. Just to try to, one, make these so they're not quite as sharp. One of my only criticisms with the project I did previously with the leaves is the one that's the maple leaf is like the sharpest thing ever. It's brutal. Just touching it, you can almost cut yourself on it. It's kind of nuts. So I'm going to do that and just round these hard edges off just a touch, just to make them a little bit more bearable to work with. And then we're going to go into sketch. We'll go back into our top view. We'll get our circle here, which is going to be 9/10 of an inch. And we'll put another circle on the inside of that, which is going to be 7/10 of an inch. And it doesn't look like these are centered. That's okay. We could go back and do a whole bunch of work if we wanted to get them centered. I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to extrude that area out here. And then I need to measure the height of what these are. And I really should. If you haven't seen my video on how to use a dial caliper, please take a look at it. It makes life a whole lot easier when you're trying to measure stuff and you have reliable measurements. But it's telling me that this bad boy is going down. Let's see here. About 1/3 of an inch, or 0.3. So I'm going to do that at 0.3. Oops, did I do that right? Nope. 0.3. Okay, we got that. And then the ones that I have here, they have like a chamfer or a fillet on the outside. So I'm going to do that as well. I think it's just to add some strength to it. I'm not going to go quite that large. I think that's a little excessive, but maybe 1/4. Yeah, that looks more reasonable. I mean, it's a little funky that it goes out that far, especially because it's not totally symmetrical, but we'll deal. And then I'm going to put a fillet on the inside here as well. And we're going to say we want that maybe to be 1/8 of an inch. Let's see, what does that look like? Yeah, I think that will be fine. That means we have a little under 1/4 of an inch there to do all our stuff with. And yeah, I think that will be fine. So I'll finish that sketch and I'm happy with that. So now we're just going to right click on it. We're going to go to export. Just going to call it that, and it's going to be an STL. All of that's there and fine. And then we're just going to go into Bamboo Studio or our slicer of choice. I'm going to be printing this on my A1 Mini because that's what I have black filament in right now. And once we get this loaded up there, we'll be able to print it up and see what's going on. Ooh, we got a new version. Look at this. Very fun. I'll come back to that later. We're going to prepare. We're going to add our model. The bat is what we're looking at here. And yeah, we got that. It looks enormous compared to everything else. So I'm very concerned about the size of this thing, but we'll come back and address that maybe later down the road here. But we're going to just leave that as is. We will slice that plate up. And it's going to take only 32 or 23 minutes, a little under a half hour total for that whole bat to print. And the only thing I like about the size of this is that bats tend to be really wide and not super tall, so it's going to be a little awkward, but that means it can kind of fit around the edges, and then I can go back and design some ghosts, and I can design some pumpkins, some things that are a little bit more round per se, take up a little bit more equal space on things, and be good to go. So I'm going to throw this over the printer, we'll see what it looks like as it comes out, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so here's the normal style leaf that it came with. I have the one that I used in the video scaled up 150%, but this is the normal one, and this is the print to match it. You can see this is an enormous print, but the idea here is that you'll be able to put it on any of these other branches, and as it's going around, you could scale this just fine with no issues. In the future, I'd probably make this a little smaller, but you can see it fits on there real nice and tight. We can get it on there, it stays. And it looks super cool. We have a couple of these going around with some ghosts and pumpkins. I think it's going to look awesome. So I need to design some pumpkins here and some ghosts and kind of make them not quite as big as this thing. but maybe incorporate some other colors. So get like an orange and a black for the pumpkins, and then a black and white for the ghost. I think that would look really cool. But I'm really happy with how it's turned out. The fit is tight, but it works. I love being able to print it down and get this kind of this finish of the thing on there. And you can see that the other side print it nice and shiny and just fine. In the future, I'd also change this chamfer to be less. It's just way too big. And I could probably scale this entire thing down a little bit as far as the drawing goes, not the actual file, but the drawings make it slightly smaller, maybe like 10-15% smaller if I got rid of this giant chamfer and just have a slightly smaller version of this. But I dig it. I like it a lot. It came out looking great, and I'm looking forward to scaling this up to 150 and putting it on my bigger wreath that I have in my house.